Hey everybody, it's Dan P with Infinite Lives, and I'm going against my word. I said I wouldn't talk to Justin Amirkhani about Always Sometimes Monsters or his sequel, Sometimes Always Monsters, until I actually made a video game, and that has not happened. But Justin is gracious enough to talk to me again. What's up, Justin?
I forgive you, first, and I'm really happy you're here still.
Awesome. So you're showing off Sometimes Always Monsters, the sequel to Always Sometimes Monsters.
I'm pretentiously calling it the antithetical follow-up to Always Sometimes Monsters.
Okay.
It's a game where you play a recently married author, you're successful, you've published a book, life's gone well, you got money in the bank, and your spouse loses their job, and you've got to find the inspiration to write a sequel really quickly before things get bad. So you do the only natural thing, you hop on a tour bus with a bunch of other authors and you go from city to city getting into trouble.
Okay. So is there anything different with the game? Is there new well, there's not really levels or or skills or something.
About the features.
Yeah, okay,
Okay, so first off, we've done a lot in the art department. We've gone back and looked at how we could improve it. I think the game looks fantastic.
I think so too. It looks pretty cool.
We've also added some new features, like your character now has a cell phone with them all the time, and you can access that with a hotkey. That you can use to change the music at freely as you will. You can also call cars, like an Uber cab, to fast travel.
That makes sense.
Another really big feature is that this game, I wanted it to feel very opposite to the first one. So instead of being alone all the time, now you're accompanied by a group of 4 friends, pretty much consistently. And every day you pick one of them to go out on the town with, or you're also with your spouse. You can take them. And there's a very different sort of dynamic that happens in the interactions you experience when you've got people with you. Friends tend to influence conversations pretty heavily.
So do you get to pick your friends, or is it kind of like, I remember the beginning of the first game where you're kind of playing several different people and you kind of settle on like one person?
So the way this one works is we have an intro sequence where your character has been set up for a panel. And you have to go and collect the other panelists, and there's a big room full of people to choose from, and the 4 people you just choose to be on the panel with you are your friends for the rest of the game.
I still think from the first game that's one of the coolest things. Like, I haven't seen any other game really do that. I mean, unless I'm mistaken, but like that was a really cool feature, and I like that you're expanding upon it and making it kind of part of the core part of the game.
Yeah, it was a thing, like I wanted to do something similar again because it's a touch. I feel like it is a milestone in our first game, and I want to do something like that again. But more than that, I find it's just a really great way to get rid of choice biases. Like if you put an ordered list, people tend to pick what's at the top first, or these sorts of things. And if you have them explore through an environment and interact with characters, then they're making a more authentic choice, and I like that, so we went with it again.
So you were telling me, we were talking a little bit before, and you were telling me about another great feature is that like your save file carries over from the first game?
Yeah, so save imports are fully operational. If you finished Always Sometimes Monsters, you will be able to bring your save file right into Sometimes Always Monsters. Now this might sound crazy to some people because they've got really strange endings, but we've planned for that as well. So everybody's taken care of. And if you're a new player, you can just hit new game and enjoy a really different sort of story than the other people because you don't have all this back information, and so there's different contexts and stuff that come into play.
So how are you planning that with like hundreds, thousands of iterations that people have with their save files and even multiple save files and things like that? How are you planning like the game around that, or can you even?
Right. So we've started something called Project Continuity, and this is a really interesting deal for us because we're just having people email us their completed save files from ASM, and we've been testing with them. And throughout that experience, we found some really strange cases. Like players do some of the oddest things with the experience, but that's also given us a lot of great ideas for like connections we can make in the new game, things that we didn't know people like to do, especially like looking through people's inventories and seeing what they treasured through the game and kept is really interesting. And so we're learning a lot through that process.
Okay, what's one of the maybe not weirdest, but really kind of just like out there kind of things that you've seen in the save game?
Right, so I had this one story that really is really fascinating. There's an early part in the game, ASM, where you can steal an old lady's bank account, essentially. And they did this, felt really bad about it, and made it through the entirety of the game with her bank card still in their wallet. when they finally arrived at a casino, they won like $10,000 and decided to return all of that money into her account, which is something we never even expected anyone to think of or do. But now we know about this and we're like, oh wow, of course, that makes perfect sense, right? So we can do cool things to like reward that style of player.
So you got the game playable on the floor here at the Indie Mega Booth at PAX Prime. How do you demo a game like this? I would think that it's pretty hard to do. And how are people like reacting to it? Like people who have never played it before, or people who have played Always Sometimes Monsters?
It is a really hard game to demo. It's a hard game to explain. I just really like to let people sit down and experience it for themselves, because once you make your first choice, you kind of understand that this is a very branching game, and it's not like tied to those Paragon Renegade systems that most ethical games are really about. And so once people finally just get in and enjoy it, then playing the game is the #1 way of convincing them.
I mean, I gotta say, it's really, I mean, Always Sometimes Monsters, and probably this game. It's really kind of like what I feel like indie games is kind of about, because like what you're saying, like it's hard to demo, it's hard to explain, it's hard for somebody to get into it like right away. And that's like something that a lot of like the big game companies that are over there, they're not going to take a chance on. And it's great that like people can do that, and people are doing it, like like yourself and a lot of other games over here.
Yeah, we feel really lucky that the industry has grown in this direction to allow us to exist as a company. We're super happy to have had fans like support us and like come back to see a new game, right? It's a really great opportunity, like a great time for us. There's lots of opportunities going on, and we're really excited about indie gaming and like where we can fit in this world too.
All right, so when's it coming out?
So Sometimes Always Monsters will be out next year, but you can play Always Sometimes Monsters right now if you have Steam, Android, or iOS.
I highly recommend it. It's a unique experience. You probably won't ever play a game kind of like that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, awesome.